Unlit Matches, Chapter 7. Another day started as normal. Abraham had found a stash of books covered in dust that looked slightly interesting to read. Well, it'd keep him occupied for the hours that Liam was gone at work, at least. Liam didn't hate his job, but he sure as hell didn't enjoy it either. It paid the bills, and that was enough for him. If the years of his childhood didn't suck the soul out of him, it's not like customer service would take much more. He tried his best to get along with his co-workers, but not to get too close as to start a friendship. Quiet and a bit cold were the descriptors used for him, but Liam didn't mind as long as he didn't have to face the rejection of anyone else. Maybe he should rethink his values. That's for another time. Currently, these thoughts passed like leaves in the wind through his head, mindlessly scanning items and autopiloting small talk with customers at the checkout line only continues to grow. Glancing at the wall-mounted clock, which is always exactly 7 minutes slow, Liam silently grimaces at the realization he has at least an hour left. At least it's only an hour, he thinks. For hours after, the beeping of the scanner will haunt him, and he barely notices anymore. Maybe because of the tinnitus. Probably because of the tinnitus. After a mind-numbing time the rest of his shift, Liam clocks out and goes to grab a cigarette, but thinks better of it. He can always have one later. He hops into his beat-up car, got at a bargain because of the, well, let's just say the charm and the uncleanable stains of the previous owner's old takeout that are left to pitifully paint the back of his seats. At least it doesn't smell anymore. Truthfully, it does smell of smoke and poor temps for air fresheners bought at a gas station. It's not like anyone else uses it besides Liam. In any case, he rolls the windows down to get rid of stagnant air and remembers how he used to love the feeling of his dad taking him on drives. The old car his dad drove was fire engine red, and it always had this dent on the back right on the trunk. It wasn't important, but he recalls anyway. Those summer nights with the windows down and some country station playing as a too small Liam tried to stick his head out the window, letting locks of hair cascade behind him in a sort of cape. His dad would sing along, belting his heart out, albeit poorly, but Liam laughed all the same. The kind of laughter you only experience as a child, giggles of pure bliss and innocence, that it's hard not to smile at. He remembers how furious his mom would get when they got back, how his dad always laughed and shook off the anger with a smile, shooing off Liam to another room before the yelling started. His dad rarely yelled, but it shook the walls when he did. Not that his mom's screaming matches didn't either. But he'd grown all too familiar with her decibels, not even noticing or caring much at all, even when directed at him. He thinks about that day in January. Liam quickly shakes his head, shoving the thought away. He can't spiral like this anymore. He's got to move past it. He breathes deeply, inhaling and exhaling like a mantra, blinking back hot tears that begged to stream down his face. He's almost home. He should probably find something more interesting for Bram to do, though. He feels awful having no TV, no computer, not even board games. He has a landline, but who would either of them even call? He wishes he could bring him to just hang out at work, like some of his co-workers and their friends do. But how would he even do that? He could claim that he has an eye condition that needs sunglasses constantly, or jaundice. People get jaundice anymore. That wouldn't solve the issue of his pupils or the eye glowing. He ponders these things, chewing on his bottom lip as if that'll give him an idea. Finally noticing he's missed his turn, Liam exasperates a sigh and shuts his eyes, deciding to keep driving until a familiar gas station appears in view. He needs to grab something to eat, or maybe drink. He can more easily turn around there in any case. Pulling into the parking lot full of approximately 3 cars, Liam's included, he parks and rummages through his glove box for some cash. Probably, no, definitely not a good spot to keep money in. His apartment is in a part of town that has maybe one person wandering around every few days, and who would want to steal from a car that looks like it died and came back to life as a zombie? The door opens with an obnoxious squeak, and definitely out-of-season Christmas-themed bell strung at the top jingles faintly. The cashier is an old man, maybe late 50s, early 60s, reading some magazine on celebrities. He gives a faint nod, acknowledging the presence of a customer, but not really giving two shits if he's been slacking off. Maybe too old to care, or he's the owner of this fine establishment. Either way, Liam returns the nod out of courtesy and grabs the random snacks and a can of whichever beer is cheapest. He grabs two just in case Abraham wants one. To be completely honest, Liam has no idea whether he drinks alcohol or in general. Well, he drank that cup of water at least. The thought doesn't settle him. Has he even eaten anything in the past week? He remembers showing him the sparse fridge and surprisingly abundant pantry of canned goods. They were on sale at the time, and him nodding his head but shrugging it off, saying he wasn't hungry yet. He assumed with all the trauma of the past days at the time, maybe he just couldn't muster up an appetite. Liam's face pales as he realizes he hasn't seen Bram eat anything. He's been at work the past week and a bit more, and the stress of his normal life colliding with whatever supernatural thing you could call this part of life. He hadn't given it a second thought. It's not like he eats food at home, he eats lunch at work and drinks coffee in the morning as if it's enough to sustain him for the day. Old habits die hard. He'll change it eventually, or at least that's what he says. It's hard to be hungry when you're constantly stressed, tired, and mildly depressed. Or majorly depressed. Whatever. Just because he didn't eat a lot doesn't mean Abraham had to adopt those same habits. What in the hell has been keeping him going? Does he even need calories anymore, or protein, or glucose, or dairy, or whatever rest of the food chart is needed for a relatively healthy diet? If Liam was sitting down, his legs would be restlessly bouncing. As he stands, he instead tries to remain calm in the setting of a public place by anxiously sweating it, though that's not really in his control. I guess neither is the leg thing, either, but you get the idea. He quickly decides to get out of there, practically jogging up the front counter and pulling out cash. The various assortment of lighters, gum, lottery tickets, and the like are colourfully shown by the register, tempting anyone who might look at them. A small stand of sunglasses sits to the left of the counter, displaying slim pickings of various frames. Liam vaguely remembers Abraham having a pair when they first re-encountered each other. He glances at the stack and spins the display around to find a pair. He can't offer his friend much, but he hopes this gesture will suffice. At least the glasses are useful. Maybe they could get out and go somewhere soon without having to worry about his situation. Situation is probably not the right word. The weird thing, the eye thing. Anyway, the glasses are a simple black pair with very dark tinted lenses and a bit of siding to block side views. Liam panics in the 2 seconds he realizes this and checks the price tag just in case that side angle part thing made them somehow worth more. They are exactly the same price as the other glasses. He questions why he was even worried, considering most gas stations don't have luxury sunglasses lying around for sale. Finally, the magazine-reading employee takes notice and wordlessly starts to scan the items laid on the counter in front of him. An awkward and uncomfortable silence occurs, but if the man notices, he genuinely does not care. The total is read, cash is exchanged, and a plastic bag is handed over with the items inside. Many places don't ID people nowadays, which Liam is thankful for, despite being over 21. He has a fake one just in case, but prays he never has to use it. The bi-weekly shots he has to take have done a lot for him, but even the stubble he's grown isn't enough to sate his worries. He'll get more soon enough, but it's a true gamble every single time whether it'll be a vial of hormones he needs or a vial of poison. He trusts the person he gets it from, but he can't say the same about people they source it from, and so on. Liam finds it ironic that the medicine he needs to go about life as normal is the same reason people that have, and will never meet him, want him dead and buried in a dress and makeup. Not that he's actively wanting to die anytime soon, but a morbid thought comes to his mind that he'd love to see his mom viewing his corpse in a nice suit with his name. His real name, written on all the funeral cards just to stick it to her. Maybe that's too mean. He doesn't particularly want to be a corpse right now anyway. He's got things to do. Despite the nagging thoughts always present in the back of his mind, he's been relatively happier of late. Right. Abraham. Liam's a bit of a grandpa when he drives, either exactly the speed limit or +1 or 2 below. But he's risking it now with a solid 5 over, give or take. Not that it's a noticeable difference to literally anyone else on the road, but the fear of getting pulled over outweighs someone being mildly pissed at him. Still, the worries from earlier make the car ride home simultaneously feel like he can't get there fast enough, and that he is going 40 over the speed limit, which he very clearly is not. He pulls into the driveway, braking a little too hard, and knocks the bag over onto the floor, which had been very carefully chucked into the passenger seat. Shit, is all he can muster. Looking up at the car's ceiling as if praying for forgiveness. For what, or from whom, he has no idea either. Thankfully the cans have not yet exploded and spilt everywhere, and the glasses haven't been scratched. He thinks. It's hard to tell in the current lighting. Liam picks up the miscellaneous items and, a bit dejectedly, walks to his front door. He fiddles with his keys for a moment, wondering to himself why he even has more than 2 keys on the keyring, as if he doesn't only use 2 of them ever. One for his apartment, and one for his car. Finally picking the correct one, he unlocks the door and immediately drops the contents of the bag on the ground, as he fights back a scream. Blood covers the tiled entryway, seeping into the not well-maintained cracks in the floor, practically overflowing the crevices. It's a deep maroon color. Liam fights back the urge to gag as the smell finally hits him. It smells of rot and decay. The stench of death fills the man's nostrils as he realizes the blood on the ground is pulsating. He quickly starts to retch, his mind going blank in fear as he sees the very foundation of his apartment is starting to wither in front of his eyes. He musters up enough air to scream as the entryway starts to collapse around him. Liam yells in terror as he scrambles away from the crumbling doorway, only registering the blood, or whatever in the ever-loving fuck it is, only becomes more substantial as he makes his way through to his bedroom. His bedroom. No, this is his bedroom he had when he was a kid. No, this is Abraham's. They used to have sleepovers together when they were kids. Why was he here? Where is here? The blood-like substance practically pours out of the familiar-looking wooden armoire, spilling out and flooding the room. Before Liam can even react, he's knee-deep in warm blood. His body is not his own anymore. He's present, but in third-person view, feeling and knowing his actions are his and his alone, but not truly making them for himself. He wades over to the armoire. And feels himself pulling the door handle. Eyes fully widened as the dresser opens to Abraham. But oh God, it's not Abraham. It's something else entirely. They lock eyes, brown on yellow, as Abraham's contorted body stares directly into Liam's entire being, snapping every atom in two and mending them over and 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 over again. It's body breaking and mending itself, pouring blood from every pore, and Abraham's hand reaches toward him as red fills the room from corner to corner. Liam helplessly chokes on a metallic tasting liquid, transfixed on blood vessels bursting in his eyes, though you would never be able to tell anymore. Infinite pain, infinite regeneration. As red tones fill his vision entirely, he hears his name being called.